Welcome back to NSA Bulls Podcast with Nick and Sean. So, Nick, welcome back. How you feeling today?
Man, I'm a little hurt by that game. That game was pretty tough to dissect. To digest. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it was pretty tough.
It was definitely tough, man. Winnable game. We could have walked out that Indiana with a W. It was in Chicago, right?
It was in Chicago.
We could have walked, in the home arena, walked out the home arena with a W, but again, they dropped the ball.
There's a lot of things going on with the Bulls right now that I just don't like what I'm seeing. I do want to give a special shout out to Zach LaVine. He played his ass off in that last game.
Yeah, he damn near 40, didn't he?
Yeah, he had over 40. He played all he could. He did all he could in terms of a shot making ability.
Yeah.
DeRozan, he came on late, but ultimately that fourth quarter he played the way he is capable of playing.
Yep.
But I felt like our defense was not where it should be, but ultimately,
and giving up 125 points.
Exactly, but that's how the league is nowadays. I felt like Patrick Beverley played as hard as he could in that last possession against Tyrese Halliburton, but Tyrese just dotted him from damn near the half court, and that was pretty tough shot. That was a kill shot. It was
a kill shot
for him to make that kind of shot.
Yep.
He just let people know that he's a star in this league, and shout out to him for making that kind of shot. But shout out to Patrick Beverley for forcing him to take a shot like that.
Right.
So he played exceptional defense, but great offense can supersede good defense, and we all well aware of that. But I didn't like the coaching decisions of our team.
Yeah.
And I've come to the realization that I feel like our coach has been majority of our Achilles heel this season. And the reason why I say that is when I looked at the game, I saw that Billy Donovan wasn't challenging the right plays. He doesn't know how to galvanize his teammates, his team in general, not teammates. He doesn't make the right plays in winning time to close out games. Like even the way he drew up the play, after Tyrese Halliburton hit that type of shot that he did, right? Coming down the stretch, knowing that we need a three, our best resort was to have Vooch shoot a three. Even though Zach was the hot hand, and I know that the defense was focused on him.
Exactly.
It's just the fact that we don't create a necessary diversion for him to get the ball to our best players.
We couldn't even get a quality shot.
We couldn't get a quality shot, and I noticed that about the Bulls all season, that they get into the games with 5 points or less, where it's basically clutch time, and our coach in general, unfortunately, has underperformed or miscued on how to draw up the right plays in winning time, right? Like, the plays are very lackluster. Sometimes we don't even get a chance to shoot the damn ball.
Right.
Luckily for this situation, we got a chance to shoot the ball, but it still wasn't what you wanted.
Shot for Vooch.
Yeah, and it wasn't a rhythm shot. It wasn't a shot that he normally can make.
Right.
So you just knew when he got the ball, it wasn't going in.
It was a heave more than anything.
It was a heave, exactly. So I just didn't like that. And ultimately, I gotta put more blame and onus on Billy Donovan. Blame goes around in a lot of directions, but I just feel like overall Billy Donovan has missed the mark a lot of times in these close games.
I agree.
I feel like there's players like Io. I feel like he's not performing at some instances to the level that he can, but he's still a second-year pro. Billy Donovan been a coach for years now,
right?
And I've noticed thing about Billy Donovan. Like Billy Donovan, he just allows his best player to just run the show, right? He doesn't implement correct plays or sets.
Right. It's hardly any sets.
It's hardly any sets. It's just your talent. Lead us the way.
Especially when DeRozan get the ball.
Exactly.
Top of the key, what he's going to do.
Exactly. And the thing I never liked about that, Sean, is that, we've benefited off DeRozan hitting game-winning shots sometimes.
Last year.
Exactly. And even a little bit this year. Not as celebrated this year, like one against New York or whatever, but ultimately, like, there's been times DeRozan has shot some bad shots.
Yeah.
And when he shot the bad shots, he left the team room to make a game-winning shot, like more than enough time, like 8 seconds left on the shot clock or 8 seconds left on the game clock, whatever you want to call it. But enough time for them to make a winning play and then some, right?
Yep.
And you look at the play, you wonder, like, Billy Donovan doesn't do the things necessary as a head coach, not to embarrass your players, but he doesn't come at his players and say, look, that was unacceptable. We can't win like that. He doesn't do those kind of things.
Pull you to the side, let you know what you could have done better.
Exactly. And it's just frustrating, when you look at it, you're like, okay, I can get where early in the season you're trying to work the kinks out, 5-10 games into the season, 20 games if that had been the season. But now we in
the final stretch.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be trying to find a rhythm in the final stretch of the season.
Exactly. And that's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
That's what's frustrating with this Chicago team. You just kind of like wondering, like, Billy Donovan doesn't do the necessary things to galvanize his troops. Yes, the players in general.
Or even put his players in the best position to win. Like, every player is going to be different and provide different talents and abilities they can provide for the team.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to utilize that correctly and put these players in those sets and draw plays up for them to really maximize what they can do, then what's the point of having a head coach?
Exactly. He too passive to me. He's relying on Patrick Beverley to do the dirty work, right? Patrick Beverley been with the Bulls for less than 6 games, right? Overall, Billy has had more of a microscope on what's going on, and he has not utilized his voice in the appropriate way to get this team in the right position to win games and to play consistently. Shout out to Alex Caruso for trying to shoot the damn basketball this last game. He actually was, like, being aggressive, trying to, like, lay the ball up. He wasn't, like, thinking pass first. He was like, okay, I gotta drive it lane, let me take it. So I gotta give him credit for that. And I feel like everybody on our team, for the most part, came to win this game. But I felt like our coach let us down. I feel like there was instances where he could have implemented more of a say-so, and he did not do that. And like I said, I allude to Zach LaVine and the travel that he got called with 3 minutes left. It's 90 seconds left in the basketball game. I'm sorry, there's 120 seconds left in the basketball game. 60 seconds, 120 seconds, right? But overall, it's winning time at that point. And at that time, you need every possession. Every possession counts.
It does.
And he wasn't even trying to challenge certain things. He was just letting it go. And I'm like, okay, if we win this game, or if we lose this game by 1 point or 2 points. And you know what's messed up? I'm cutting myself off, but what's messed up? They scored. They scored off of that travel that they called on Zach LaVine, right? So it's like, it actually was worthy of you challenging. You didn't challenge it. And then you put the team in a situation where it's like, now we got to fight for the lead. And we end up getting the lead. But overall, like, these possessions all matter, right?
And then you have to fight for your players, too, especially your star players. The Bulls are paying this guy a lot of money. That's one of your guys. You got to, ride or die with him. So that moment that you're talking about is a critical moment, one of the defining moments in the game, especially since they scored and they were going back and forth, the game winding down. You got to, stick up for your player.
Exactly. And the fact that he didn't do that is just a microcosm on the season where it's like, if the players are underperforming to a certain sense, it's the coach. And it's like, we've never had, if we did, it was a very, very small piece where we got the players and the coach playing on one string.
Right.
We either got the players playing to the level that they shouldn't be playing, right? Where they should be playing better. And the coach is playing okay-ish, or we have the coach not playing the way he should be, or coaching the way he should be playing.
Right.
Mixed in with the players playing at a high level. So it's frustrating,
especially when you have the talent.
Exactly.
You have the talent. You have all the pieces.
Yeah.
We just need somebody to orchestrate that for us.
Yeah. It's just frustrating, and I just feel like, the Bulls have to make some changes mainly in the coaching department. I mean, we can sit up here until the sky turns red or whatever you want to call it, where we say, we got to change the players. But I feel like the players are manageable to change the culture around whom you already have. I feel like our coach doesn't set the right temperature. And I feel like now that we have gone over 40 games in a season, my eyes are very clear. Like, I used to blame Billy for 20%. I get that man 60% now because he doesn't give them the right tutelage to approach the game. And even when they win games, he's talking about how we should possibly switch up the lineup, or we should do certain instances where we should play a small lineup and put Derrick Jones Jr. at the center. You just never know with this guy. I feel like I don't know his rhythmic beat, like what makes him tick, what makes him upset. I've seen press conferences where he gets upset about certain things, but when I look at it now, I feel like the players are to blame in certain instances, but I feel like he doesn't set the right tone. He's not the right coach for this type of bunch of players.
Right.
And that's how I look at it.
We need a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, we need somebody that, is not afraid to hold people accountable, mixed in with on-floor guys like that, right? So, like, winning teams have a mixture of both. They have a mixture of a coach that will hold you accountable, also with a gritty player that will hold you accountable.
Like a coach-like player.
Exactly. So, it takes a lot to win in the NBA. You need the talent. You need guys that know how to score at will. You need guys that know how to create their own shot. You need playmakers. You need coaches that know how to run the right sets.
Defense.
Know how to make the right decision making. Defense, like you just said. We need it. We need all of those things, right? And I feel like there's instances that I've seen all of that from this team, with the exception of proper coaching. I've seen DeRozan take bad shots. No one's telling DeRozan that's a bad shot, bro.
That's the thing.
No one's telling this man that's a bad shot.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like he leaves the players to figure it out. Right. They have to do it. Like, like I put on TikTok through our podcast where, it was clear and evident that Vooch was like, looking like he had never been told. Like, that was, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like,
just the fact, like, little exchange like that between him and Patrick Beverly in Detroit.
And he was clearly wrong. He wasn't even paying attention to the basketball. The guy scored an easy layup, and Vooch was right there, but his back was turned.
Exactly. Back turned, he get the foul, whatever. But the point is, he right at the rim, and it's like he wasn't there to even notice things.
Right.
Coaches tell you all the time, you got to focus on the ball, but focus on your man. You almost got to have a peripheral. You got to focus on the man if you do a back cut, but you also got to focus on that ball.
Where's the ball?
Exactly. Where is the ball? That's the most key part. Where is the basketball? I've noticed that it's like, these players, they got this mannerism where it's like every man for himself, and they like, well, as long as my man ain't scored,
Right.
But it's like that.
Where's the help defense?
Exactly, and it's like Patrick Beverly getting beat off the dribble, and our center wasn't there to actually pay attention to what was going on.
Right.
But you never saw Billy Donovan telling that man, "Hey, man, that was some bullshit.
Right.
Like you need to step it up." Patrick Beverly got to do it, and that's the problem. It's like I think the management knows that the coach lacks in certain department, which is why we signed Patrick Beverly. Yeah, we still need him, but I think it's other things that's going on with this management, and I hope that they shake it up, because I feel like there's some things that we can swap out in terms of like players, but I also feel like we got enough talent to be a fifth.
Yeah, I feel like we got
seed.
enough talent. We got enough talent.
Yeah, we shouldn't be in these situations. The Bulls are currently like 11 and 22.
We're a 12th seed.
12th seed, and they're 11 and 22 in close games for the season. They've had a lot of close games. They've blown a lot of close games. They've blown a lot of leads in January alone. But it's frustrating when you look at the team and you realize that, the record can be completely different than what it is. They shouldn't even be in a situation where they fighting for a playoff seed.
Especially against teams that weren't even in playoff position.
Exactly. They've lost some games. They've lost games to the Raptors that I didn't like. And even though the Raptors are currently in the 9th seed, they're more in playoff contention than we are.
But still.
But it's just the facts, man. It's just
on paper. We should be beating a lot of these teams.
We should be.
And then especially at the beginning of the season, we were knocking off a lot of the good teams. So
exactly. So we come to play against those elite teams, and then we lackluster against other teams, or teams that we think we should beat. Mm-hmm. And the energy just shows that, right? But that's the thing. The energy starts with your coach. Energy starts with the players. I mean, it reciprocates back to the players. Mm-hmm. And there's games where your players can carry you, right? Mm-hmm. But overall, I feel like Billy Donovan has taken the notion of letting the players have too much responsibility. Mm-hmm. The players got to play, but you got to set the tone. Mm-hmm. You got to tell people, like, listen, we need this game, guys. Mm-hmm. We got to play at a high level. This game matters. Every game is a game 7 for the Bulls at this point for the end of the regular season because
we're already on a bad start.
We're on a horrible. Like, you know what's crazy? We actually won 3 out of 4. We should have won 4 in a row. Then we lose this game. So we out of the last 5 games, we won 3. Mm-hmm. With Patrick Beverly being over in terms of an acquisition, but we lost against Phoenix, and we was in that game, and then we pulled away from us. Yeah, and then this particular game hurt more because. Right. Indiana is also not in the playoffs.
Right, they're like a seed above us.
Exactly. So you expect if you're gonna lose to Phoenix with Kevin Durant, it's not much you can do with that. But it's like this game was a winnable game, like from the very beginning. For the honestly, part.
I mean, it's a winnable game before it even started. I mean, you're going against the Indiana Pacers. They don't even really have any superstars.
Exactly. They got an all-star in Tyrese Halliburton, first year becoming an all-star. And he's playing really well. Yeah. But overall, he's not in his prime.
You're not expecting him to do that much.
Yeah. But overall, it sucks that the Bulls lost a home game like that. Mm-hmm. And now they got their work cut out for them. They're not on anybody's radar at this point, with the exception of Chicago fans like us. Mm-hmm. In terms of trying to make the playoffs, nobody has his team making the playoffs with this far into the season. A lot has to happen for the Bulls to actually make the playoffs. But overall,
first they have to get into the play-in picture.
Exactly. What's going on with Ja Morant, man? That boy Ja Morant, man. I swear, man.
Man, in his mind, he's from the trenches. He's from the hood. He's from the block. Every block. He wanted to show his little BB gun. I mean, it was a real gun, but it was a small gun. And I don't know, man. He letting the culture influence him way too much.
Be comfortable where you came from. You didn't come from this, bro. There's cats. They do this comparison in certain instances.
Allen Iverson?
Him or Derrick Rose, for example, right? Uh-huh. These are dudes that really came from impoverished areas, bro. Right. They had to make it. Their family needed them to make it.
They could have easily went that way that Ja Morant wants to go.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure, not to make people feel bad or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that if Ja never made it to the NBA, his parents would be just fine. They wouldn't be luxurious.
Yeah.
But they'd be fine.
They'd be typical black parents in America.
Exactly. Typical.
Average income.
Exactly. But
okay.
But he taking all that for granted. Mm-hmm. And that's my issue with people like him. Be comfortable where you came from. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's an old played out adage where, you gotta feel like you gotta get some stripes in your belt or whatever the case may be. Listen, dude, $1 million that you're making, over millions
of dollars. Millions. Endorsements, the Powerade endorsement. He just got a signature shoe.
Exactly.
He got Nike behind him. He got Powerade behind him. He has the Memphis Grizzlies praising him to be a superstar.
Yep.
Now you're going to just put all this down the drain, potentially.
Exactly. And the thing about it, too, is he just became a household name. Mm-hmm. Like we said, we're not talking about guys that follow basketball that knew his name years ago. We're talking about the traditional person who watches the NBA handful of times a year. Right. They just started realizing who Ja Morant is, right? Yeah. And now he's creating this image. And I'm not going to go as far as say he can't rectify it. He can't fix it. Mm-hmm. But it's unnecessary. it's unnecessary for him to even go in this direction. Your dad is at every game. Your dad has supported you 100%. And then I also got to give blame to his dad.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because they've been talking about him a little bit on ESPN.
Yeah, to
because it's like he's like a friend.
Exactly. Get off that bullshit, bro. Yeah. Like my thing is like, listen, you see, we talk like grown men because we are grown men, right? We, 10, 11, almost 12 years older than Ja, right? I know we don't look like it, but we are. Okay. And reality is like, when we look at it, we be like, you're trying too hard, trying too hard to fit into something that's not you.
I mean, there's a lot of variables that could be played into this. Like, I don't know the people that he hang out with. I mean, I don't even know who he is at all. Like, it doesn't appear like he came from a impoverished area. But who's to say what type of upbringing he really had, like, outside of his home? Especially if he didn't have the type of parents that were maybe keeping a close eye on him and watching the people that he was with or watch the things that he was doing. So
yeah, I mean, if you want to be technical, a lot of people could say that, but right. Yeah. I mean, shit. Let's take LeBron for example. I mean, he ain't come from knowing his dad, or whatever it case may be, but he still found a way to make it work. Right. But my point I'm making is you want a grand opportunity. Mm-hmm. He knows it's a grand opportunity, right? And not only that, you wanted a small percentage of people who actually got a contract beyond basketball. You got a contract in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You can guarantee
you could be rich outside of basketball.
Exactly. So let's say the NBA decided to give you crumbs for contracts. Mm-hmm. Let me put it that way.
You still got a shoe. You still got endorsements. You'll be all right. But you made a good point bringing up LeBron. So, look, we know LeBron really came from, like, nothing. Like, didn't have his father. His mom was probably working multiple jobs. His mom probably wasn't around that much because she was at work. He probably had to maybe raise himself in some situations, had to cook for himself, all that type of stuff. It doesn't appear Ja came from that environment. It seemed like he had both his parents to take care of him ultimately. Exactly. So, when you have a situation like LeBron, it's like usually all or nothing. Like when they're in sports, like this could take you all the way or it could not, and then you can just kind of like be in the same area, but it's 50-50. Yeah. With Ja Morant, it's like he probably takes advantage of the moment, like we just said, because he came from an okay upbringing.
That's a valid point.
So he's not going to take basketball or the opportunity as serious as maybe LeBron did when he first came in the league, because LeBron already knew what was back home for him if he didn't do what he had to do on the court. He's gonna either become LeBron James or who he is today, or he's gonna be back, doing God knows what, having no money at all, potentially throwing his life down the drain.
Exactly. And then you can even say the same thing for guys like Allen Iverson, right? This document, Allen Iverson's mom had to decide whether she gonna buy the shoes for him for a tournament or pay the water bill. And she decided to buy the shoes. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So it's like there are situations of players that came before you that had way more to sacrifice to you, right? And you don't. And you taking advantage of it. But I get you nailing it right in the coffin, right? Because what you're saying is that because he don't have much to risk, he feels like he can just do what he got to do.
Because if he doesn't have basketball, he'll probably still be able to find a way to make it within this world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a valid point to put it, man. He's got a God-given talent. He just got to get a God-given mindset. Yeah. His mindset has to change.
But also, a lot of the black men, young black men, when they're becoming teenagers to men, they have a foggy brain of what's sensible and what's not because of, just the system that we live in and the conditions that we live in. Unfortunately, of course, Ja Morant's actions are unacceptable, but he's not the only guy that's doing dumb shit like that on Instagram Live. He's just rich and doesn't have to do that shit, but he still keeps that company probably from back in the home, back in the streets where guys is doing dumb shit like that.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
When you're that young, I'm not sure how old he is, but when you're from like the age of 17 to like 21, 22, especially if you're making millions of dollars, when you're young, period, you're already dumb. because you don't really have a great sense of life and what it is and how serious life is. But now you got all this money, it just make you damn near even dumber.
Exactly. And I feel like it might be a little bit of a guilt thing too. Like, I made it, but some other guys didn't make it, you know. And some of the examples of this, I mean, we make comedic shows about it. Like, you know, for example, like I know it's a show called Survivor's Remorse that no longer even play no more. It was a great show, by the way, where there was episodes where he make it to the NBA and he felt guilty that his friends didn't make it. Friends that he knew that was taking basketball as serious as he did, or maybe made a wrong turn in their life, didn't make it, right? And overall, you know, it creates this level of guilt where you're like, oh, like, you know, I want them to fit in. So you start lowering your expectations down to make them fit in. But overall, you got more to lose than they got to lose. Yeah. So I want to talk about another thing that is like a connection to this Ja Morant conversation, right? Okay. I feel like Ja Morant is given the privilege to move how he does, not like in a negative way. I don't know how to put it that way. I don't know another way to put it. Because the league doesn't have a grown man energy anymore. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, the veterans of today's game, the KDs of the world, the LeBrons of the world, right? The guys that usually hold the mantle typically for any generation where they over 10 years into the game, right? Where they can like let people know like there's nonverbal cues you give off to the younger players or younger people in general of how to handle this league, how to be in this league,
how to conduct yourself,
how to conduct yourself. Exactly. You don't have to always speak, but it's certain ways how you handle yourself. Right. Every generation had it, with the exception of this one. This generation, there's KDs in the world who have all the ability to say, this ain't cool, this ain't not cool, right? But then you got guys like KD who I said in previous episodes documented saying, I don't feel comfortable telling people how to live their life. Because he has that MO, and it ain't just him, I'm not trying to be mean towards him, but because he has that MO and other players in the league also have that same MO, what it causes is this thing where veterans are no longer putting their imprint on the league other than their talent. It used to be a mix of their talent and their mindset. Like, so even guys who weren't even that talented, right? I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. There was a moment when Kevin Garnett came into the league and he was on Minnesota, right? His coach, not his coach, but one of the players on his team, I'm having a brain freeze right now, but his name was Sam Mitchell.
Okay.
Mitchell, that, you know, was a coach for the Toronto Raptors when Kobe dropped 81, right? Okay. Well, there was a moment where he was a player in the league when Kevin Garnett came in the league, right? Kevin Garnett used him as his mentor, right? This guy is not as talented as Kevin Garnett, but Kevin Garnett knew that this dude was a grown man and how he handled himself. I'm going to need to learn from him in life. I might be better than him in talent, but I ain't better than him in life.
His mind is wiser and sharper. His mind is wiser and his mind is sharper, right? We've gotten away from Miami still does this to a certain degree. Shout out to Udonis Haslem, but he's about to retire. But overall, there's not that many guys like that.
Exactly. And what it causes the whole team full of young niggas, right? And young guys. I hate to say that word on podcasts, but in all reality, it causes a diversion where a lot of young players are on a team together and no one is able to tell somebody, dude, this ain't the way you should move.
Right. It's like they don't know what right versus wrong.
Exactly. And they don't have credence to say it either. Like, they feel like if they say something probably to this player, the player might say, I make more money than you. I got endorsements. You a hater. You X, Y, and Z.
Lack
and then
of
finally
respect.
Exactly.
No respect.
So they'll flip it to something else, right? But really, that player could be trying to tell you the truth about yourself, right? But what we've come down to now is where when we got so many young players on the team together, it's created a young mindset throughout the league that's permeated the league. And I feel like it's transitioned from, you know, grown men energy to big kid energy. It's big kid energy. It's like a lot of little kids who make a lot of money and they got a lot of talent, but their mentality is not where it should be. And just having guys like a veteran can really help with, being able to have the right discernment. Like, hey man, like
in life.
You've been in this league about 12 years or 11 years. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? Man, I think you shouldn't do that. I think X, Y, Z. I think you should think about it this way. And it gives a different perspective. I mean, we all need that, right? Like at certain degrees, right? But the fact is that you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, the whole team is permeated with young talent. So there's things that even before it got to where it is that they saw, and nobody was saying nothing. Nobody probably said nothing, or they probably was afraid to say something, possibly because of the backlash. Like, okay, this dude made more money than me. He's the star of the team. He's the franchise player. I'm not gonna say nothing at all.
Fan favorite.
Exactly. So what edge do I have to tell him anything? But how you offset that is that you have somebody who's older on your team, not Steven Adams, because he ain't even 30 years old yet. We talking about somebody who was a little older, who's somebody who's like Andre Iguodala for your team. Somebody who's 35, 36, 37. He pressing 40, he on your team.
And then the player has to be open for criticism too.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of the problem with these young generation people nowadays. And I mean, that's probably not just this generation of young folks, but most young people, even people that was in our generation, they didn't really want to listen to constructive criticism, or didn't take it that well, because when you're young, you have a kind of a defensive mind.
Exactly. And my thing about that is that's natural for young people to have, right? But what's highly effective is having older players on your team. Now, I'm not of the mindset that you got to have guys like Udonis Haslem who overstayed a welcome, but I get the value that he would bring, right? But overall, every generation, every era of sports had those kind of guys.
We don't have that in NBA nowadays.
No, we don't. And then the guys who could be taking the mantle don't take it. So the Kevin Durant's of the world, they don't take it. They don't take it. And he's too busy thinking elsewhere, and he don't want to ruffle feathers, and he don't want to be on anybody's bad side. I want to be everybody's friend. There used to be a time where those guys, we talking about the Sam Mitchells of the world, like I was often like my name a little bit, the Sam Mitchells of the world didn't care about being everybody's friend. He just want to be effective to this said person. This person right here, this is my assignment. I don't care.
Under his wing type situation.
Exactly. Let me tell this dude how about life and about this game beyond just the talent, because the talent got him there. Now it's about how to stay in there. That's about staying in. You know, they tell you that in college, right? For all those who went to college, right? They tell you like college is going to get you the job. How, like, what you got to do, your behaviors and your manners is going to keep you in there. And that's on a lower level. That's not the NBA. But I'm just saying in general speaking, though, like that's what's missing in the game. Because when I look at like a lot of old footage of basketball, I'll be like, man, these are grown men. They have grown man mindset. You could just tell it's their mannerisms, how they carry themselves. Like how they come up to the game, how they respond to questions. How they, handle like controversial things. You're like, these are grown men.
But I mean, so just taking consideration how the world is today. Like we always laugh how people are softer and even more sensitive than 10 years ago, especially if you compare that to like the 80s or the 70s. Like people who had thicker skin could take more out of people, and that's just transferring over into sports and everything like that, so it's just a ripple effect.
Unfortunately. And when you got guys like John Morant, he's already probably been more talented than everybody he's come across in his age bracket, right? So how do you tell him what he need to tell him? Sometimes life do that to you. But overall, there's certain times where you just gotta be like, I don't give a damn about your talent. I gotta tell you the truth about what I feel about you.
Yeah.
And you need to know, because if you don't know, you're bound to make more mistakes than you hear in this little small version of criticism.
And for his situation, hopefully his father can just be that person.
Yeah.
Because his father seems pretty active in his life. He's always at the games and stuff like that. So he should be the guy to be telling him what he needs to, how to act.
Exactly. And then I saw Paul Pierce respond to that situation. You know, Paul Pierce was kind of like, you know, people don't understand what these players got to go through. I carried a gun. But here's the thing about that. When I, as a rebuttal to Paul Pierce, no one knew you carried a gun, Paul Pierce. No one knew that. You know why people didn't know that? Because the era you grew up in and the way you handled yourself. You didn't walk around and say, I got a gun.
Right.
You just carried yourself in a way where if it goes that way, I'm ready.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna let people know I carry what I carry, right? There's a lot of players that probably was like that.
And that's huge, because just by flashing a gun on Instagram Live or whatever platform you're on, you're actually inviting problems, because people might want to test you in that way. Like, oh, he got a gun, he might not use it, he might, whatever they might say. And you didn't even have that attention on you at first. Now you got the spotlight on you in a negative way.
Exactly.
And when you just could have, you're in an Instagram, you're in a whatever club or a studio, you're flashing the gun for a couple of seconds. I know it was a bonehead mistake, but it's a huge bonehead mistake.
Exactly.
Because you're not even considering your future, your family, your legacy. Like,
exactly. And the thing I'm hearing about recently, I don't know what's concrete evidence, but they're saying that he potentially could have brought the gun on the plane, which means that from an NBA standpoint, that could be a minimum of 50 game suspension. Which this is not the right time for a guy of his caliber to be in these situations as they approach the playoffs.
Especially when you were just talking that your team doesn't have anything to worry about in the West. They have a lot to worry about now, if that's going to be the case.
Yeah. But my thing is, I'm also not a man that want to hear excuses, though. So, like, if he's lost to the playoffs, and ultimately they say, well, they ain't had John Morant. Well, that's self-inflicted. Ain't nobody. It wasn't an injury.
It's self-inflicted, but he's not there. So
exactly. And then my thing is like, you should have learned from cats like Gilbert Arenas. Yeah. Gilbert Arenas brought a gun in the locker room. What happened? It wasn't good. Nothing good came off from
He must have been intoxicated, high, drunk, something. Because why would you do that? Like, you not even realizing who you are.
Yeah.
Like,
but it goes back to what I said too. Who's gonna hold this cat accountable? Who's gonna hold him accountable? It's like a lot of the young guys that make so much money now, $200 million contracts. It's more money than guys in previous generations made in the entire career.
Right. That's more money in a lifetime.
Exactly. So they're making generational wealth money, and for a guy like John Morant, he just he just got in the league. But overall, he came in the league and he was playing elite, exceptional ball. But he doesn't have 5, 6, 7, 8 year track record that warrants the money that he got. It's just the way the league has gotten.
John Morant is still fresh in the league. He's still a fresh household name. Even if he is a household, he might not even be a household name. But after this stunt, he might be a household name for the wrong reason. Yeah. But
yeah, he got to be careful with that, man, because there's a lot of talented guys who took the wrong paths later in life. But overall, talent is not enough for you to get the glory that you really want, and I'm pretty sure he's well aware of that. So, we'll see what's to come up next with him. Kevin Durant, is now in the Phoenix Suns. Everybody's well aware of that. But he's been playing well.
The Dallas Mavericks.
That Dallas Mavericks game.
The stars came out in that.
The stars certainly came out.
You had 4 players over 30 points?
Yeah. I ain't never seen that before. And Kyrie looking like the updated version of Nick Van Exel 2.0 with the Dallas Mavericks.
If you don't know who Nick Van Exel is, look him up.
Y'all need to recognize. But Kyrie Irving, he played exceptional, very efficient. Luka played exceptional as he's been doing all season long. Right? And then KD hitting mid-range jumpers, stagger jump shots, and then Devin Booker playing well too.
Kevin Durant only shot 17 times, and he had 40?
Damn near.
Yeah.
Like 37, 38. I got to look back
off 17 shots.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Kevin Durant. That's why I got Kevin Durant. I don't care what the all-time numbers say. I have Kevin Durant as the third best scorer of all time. The reason why is because of stuff like that. We're talking about the ability to score so efficiently.
And it seems effortlessly. Yeah.
Yeah. He might, I mean, it's probably better to say aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Because he also got the most amount of points for the least amount of games. Because he's only got about less than 1,000 games played with over 20,000 or 22 or 23,000 career points.
Wow.
You know, so he got that many career points when everybody in his same vicinity, you know, got more games played. You know?
I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to claim it. I think the Phoenix Suns might win the championship this year.
You know, I was holding back on saying that because I felt like adding a piece, I said from last episode, adding a piece like Kevin Durant mid-season takes more forming. But the way these boys are playing,
I think Kevin Durant is so dangerous. They were talking about this on ESPN. It's because he doesn't demand the ball and he can fit into any system without like any problems at all. You know, like, unlike any other superstar that ever played the game, because most of these superstars need the ball in their hand to be effective. He can just get, like, the scraps, get the ball, last couple of seconds in the shot clock, and score. He can just do that continuously and rack up 25, 30 points in his sleep. So, this year, I'm going to call it right now. I think the Phoenix Suns are at least going to the finals. At least.
Interesting.
I think they're at least going to the finals. But Milwaukee in the East, I think they're the team to beat.
That's a good point. What about Boston? What you think about Boston?
I think right now Milwaukee has the edge over Boston.
They might.
Yeah, right now. I think Giannis right now has a surge of energy that his team is really picking up on.
Yeah.
And then his talent and his ability is better than Jason Tatum's. So that's why we'll have to go with the Bucks.
Giannis got that ability to pose his will.
To do anything he wants.
He has that ability to pose his will.
And he's not even that good of a shooter, but he makes up with that with his effort and his energy and everything.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. When I look at the game, you know, Milwaukee got talented pieces, but he's that X factor. I mean, when you look at it, Chris Middleton could be the X factor and Drew Holiday the X factor in terms of just like you can't pull away from them. But when the game is in reach, and you got a guy like Giannis on your team with that mentality that he has, where he literally doesn't let his last failures affect him. He just keeps going.
Yeah, he's
forward.
a workhorse too.
He's a super workhorse. And you have to outwork him.
You do.
And most people in the league will not.
No.
You know, and
a lot of people are not up for the challenge.
No, they're not. They're not. And overall, I actually agree with your sentiment when you talk about Milwaukee, because Milwaukee coming off a 15-game winning streak, they just lost to Philly.
They did just lose to Philly though, and that was a good game, and it was a big win for the Philadelphia 76ers. But all in all, I still like the Bucks are just a better team.
Yeah, I wonder if Maxey or guys like that for Philadelphia can sustain and play the way he played against Milwaukee in the postseason, because that's the difference maker. I feel like Harden and Embiid are definitely going to need to play a level, but the guys like Maxey, I mean, the man had over 25 points.
Yeah,
I think it's necessary that you know, if you're going to beat a team like Milwaukee, you have to have that third killer that is actually going to deliver, because there's going to be games where Drew Holiday is going to get 25, and he's an all defensive type of player.
You don't have to worry about him. He's gonna get his.
Yeah,
in some way.
Yeah, and then Chris Middleton. You know, he's working the kinks out. You know, and and even if one of the guys underperform, you got guys like Bobby Portis that's gonna get you 18 points.
And they got a bunch of scrappy players too. So
yeah.
They're okay over there. They're sitting nice, and they're in first place right now in the East. So
yeah. So. And there you have it, man. You know, you talk about, you know, these teams right there, but Dallas, they are now currently like 2-5 now.
See, Dallas have not been playing well since they acquired Kyrie Irving. I can't really say I'm surprised, but I'm a fan of Kyrie. I mean, we're all pretty much fans of Kyrie, so we want to see them do well. But
yeah,
I'm not sure exactly what it is But maybe just the combination of Luka and Kyrie might not just. It might be too much, too much firepower. Especially if they both need the ball in their hand.
Yeah, I think it could be that. I also think that it takes a while to gel those kind of offensive juggernauts together, like it does typically, right? Yeah. Kevin Durant is he's an exception to the rule. Coming to teams and just automatically gel in like he always been there.
Right.
That's not normal. Most of the time, guys that need the basketball, and you gotta think about it. Luka, he coming from a situation where he always has the ball. Yep. Now he got a guy that don't need him to score. He's never had that. I mean, he had that with Jalen Brunson. Let me take that back. But Jalen Brunson.
But that was his breakout year.
Yeah.
So
Kyrie is already established.
Right.
Kyrie's the guy that just give me the ball. And I do still fear them in the postseason. I feel like they got enough talent to get out of a series. But it just really depends on who they got to play.
Yeah.
But they have been struggling. But I feel like when I looked at the game last night, Sunday, I'm sorry. That was yesterday. But when I looked at the game, I thought that, there were times that Luka could have deferred to Kyrie, under a minute left. I felt like he was holding the ball. He was trying to do what he normally is known to do. It's a guy that had a 60-point triple-double, this season.
So he probably just have to just be more aware of who he's playing with now. And defer to him a little bit more, and just recognize that you do have another superstar on your team.
Yeah,
and it's not like last year or the beginning of this year. And your team is going to be more effective when they're both being able to just do their own thing.
Yeah, shout out to the Bulls for trying to win these games, but overall we got a lot of work to do in the off season.